Hi guys, thought I would do a little cut for you today. If you have a wee look at this doll's head, it's never been cut at all. So I thought what I'll do is I'll do a nice wee long layered haircut with some face shaping. And first thing I'll do after I've done that full cut is I'll do a disconnected bang and then I'll connect it. So I'll show you two different ways, okay? So I never shampooed her first because, to be honest, these dolls' heads are really difficult to work with when they're wet, as you know. So what I'm going to do is I've got a water spray, got some section clips, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off cutting it dry, and then I'll section it and I'll start spraying down my sections. So what I'm going to do is take a good maybe 3-4 inches off the bottom here, just to get rid of all that hair. So I'm just going to do that dry. So remember in your sections, remember when you're doing anything at the bottom of anybody's hair, make sure that their head is slightly forward. So when your client's sitting, just get them to tilt their chin to their chest. You don't want them doing that. You just want them tilting their chin to their chest, okay? That's all you need to do. Section it down the middle, and then you're taking your diagonal sections. So why do we take diagonal sections? Because the head is not straight. The head is in a curve. So you cut it in a curve, right? So if you look at that, you've got a diagonal section there. But I'm going to cut that straight, and that will be straight all the way around. But if I put a straight line in there, I would tend, when I was cutting it, it would curve up the way, if that makes sense. Right, so I'm going to just do this and get rid of some of this length. See, normally I would be doing this and the hair would be wet, but these dolls' heads, as you know, they're not terrible. So I'm just going to thicken it up by taking a few inches off the bottom. Make sure it's nice and straight before my next section comes down. The difference already, just taking a few inches off that. People with long hair tend to want to keep their hair long, but what happens is when it's endy at the bottom, it starts to travel up the hair. So always remember, when they have got split ends, there is no product, excuse your cough in the background, there is no product on the market that can repair split ends. The only thing that can actually help split ends is getting your hair cut. So when their hair, they say when their hair is growing, it obviously grows from the root. When it grows, it breaks. So people will say, oh, my hair doesn't grow. Your hair always grows. But what happens is it's the hair at the bottom. It depends on the condition of that hair at the bottom, how long it's got to last on your head. So if you look at the bottom of people's hair that's quite long, you'll find if you look at the very bottom, there'll be a lot of split ends. You need to trim the ends, because what happens is they travel all the way up and you have to get more cut off it. So you should get your hair cut, if it's long, probably 8 to 12 weeks, and if it's short, 4 to 6 weeks. That's your kind of average. Everybody's different though, because some people want their hair done more often and some people just hate getting their hair cut. They're frightened of us. Imagine being scared of us. It's awful. Right, so I'll just quickly do this because this is stuff that you know. But see, if you notice here, her shoulders are here. I'm working in between her shoulders. I'm not round here and I'm not round here. I'm not standing like that and I'm not standing like that. I'm standing straight and I'm standing shoulder to shoulder. Okay? That way the balance of my haircut will be perfect. If I move over to this side could be shorter, this side could be longer, or vice versa. So make sure you're standing in the middle. Just always remember the shoulders, you're standing in the middle of the shoulders. Okay? It's the easiest way to get the balance, and all I'm doing is continuing to take triangle sections. I'm not doing any other section apart from triangle sections. Okay? And I'm not putting too much tension on this either. because I will chop into this. I'm only just taking the length off. And if you notice as well, I've always sectioned here, I always take fine sections. Now, the people want to take shortcuts at everything and they want to take bigger sections because they want it done quicker. It won't get it done quicker for you at all. Take your fine sections and your haircut will be more precise than what it would be if you took larger sections and you can't see. Always make sure you can see your guideline. Now your guideline, for people that don't know, is your first starting point. So everything is brought to that guide. So the first section you do, every other part of your haircut revolves around about that section. If you notice, I'm just slightly pulling this, it's just slightly back. To be honest, I'm not going to section this part here because I'll show you why. There's nothing to it, there's like a strand of hair. So all I'm doing is just taking off the ends, okay? And I'm not too worried about the front just now because I'm going to shape the front. So I'm going to have a wee look at my length. It's good length, that's a fine length. Okay, so I'm not too worried about round about here just now because I'm going to take all this away. So all this front section is going to be taken away. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer through it. Now where you start is, people start at different places. There's not a right and a wrong way to do this. So somebody might show you this way, somebody might show you another way. There is nobody right and there is nobody wrong. This is just personal preference, okay? So I'm just going to show you, I'm just sectioning off just now and then I'll talk you through what I'm doing. This is my personal preference because I find it easier. I get lost doing it the other way, whereas a lot of people get lost doing it this way, so it's again personal preference. What's good is if you get a few different ways, if you get taught a few different ways, see that as a positive, and then you will decide what way that you prefer. Whereas a lot of people are too quick to jump on and say, that's not how we get showed. It's nothing to do with that, it's to do with you becoming the hairdresser that you are. So you take a bit from one person, a bit from another person, a bit from another person, and then that moulds you into what you are. When I was training, I worked in a big salon, and what had happened was we used to get 3 months with every stylist. So you worked 3 months with one, then you moved to the next one, you worked 3 months. Now there's people that you loved working with, there are people you didn't like working with as much, but you learned, out of every single person you worked with, you learned that tiny wee bit of them. Some more than others. But then you became you as a hairdresser rather than just being a stereotypical follow a line. You become the person that you are, okay? So take everything as a positive. Don't take anything as a negative in hairdressing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just section this back out the road just now because I'm going to start at the top. Now, when the hair is dry, it can be a wee bit more awkward to section it. When it's wet, it's easier, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put her down a wee bit so I can show you what I'm doing. So I'm going to start here at the top, okay? I'm going to take a section from the top and I'm just going to section it off. Normally I wouldn't section it when I'm cutting somebody's hair, but I want to show you step by step, so I'm going to section every single piece away so that you can see what I'm doing, okay? Another section of this out of here. So I'm just taking a line from the crown right down to the ear. And then I'm sectioning this off, okay? So I'm going to put that in front of you here. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is, I've got my section here, so I'm going to comb it up. Okay, so I'm combing that up to the middle. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to take off a good few inches, okay? So see if you see that, I'm pulling it straight up. Okay, now I'm still holding this guideline, and here's my other part here that I sectioned off. So I'm bringing it up. If you can see it, I'm just bringing it to a slight angle. I still want some layering through here, but I don't want to take away all my length. So when I get to my next section at the bottom, I'll bring that right up until it drops. Once it drops, that tells me my length has not been altered. So this length is now the same length as it was when it started. The only difference is you've got a slight layer through it. Same at this side, straight up. My wee section, there we go. Straight up, round. Okay, I'm still holding on to that, and I'll take my next section. I'm bringing that up. Bringing it up. That wee bit drops. Excuse me. The joys of working at home with two lovely dogs. Okay, so that's my first section done. Now what I'm going to do to make it a slight bit easier is I'm going to lightly spray it. Okay. So now I'm taking my next section. So my next section is the exact same again. I'm taking it straight down. I'm just going to move this out my road so you can see what I'm doing. You don't need to do this when you're doing a client, but it's easier for me to show you. So basically what I'm doing is working in lines. So I'm starting at the top and I'm working my way down. Okay? Now, I'm going straight up to my guideline. Remember, my guide is the hair that I started with. Okay? So I'm coming it straight up to my guideline, and then I'm taking that off. Now my guideline, I should always be able to see. If I can't see my guideline, you shouldn't be cutting. Take my next section up from here, exact same again. My guideline is underneath here. I'm taking this off, and then I'm bringing up my bottom part. Okay, I'm still standing at the back if you've noticed. My position is not altering at all. I'm still standing between the shoulders. The only difference is I'm bringing up another section from here. So straight up. If you notice my fingers, if you look at where my fingers and my shoulders are, I'll show you in a second. When I come up here, my fingers are pointing in and in. So it's like a V shape. Okay, so that's me getting the layers. I've got layers through here, but as I'm coming down, my layers are getting longer. And as I'm coming to the very bottom, my layers are getting longer again. So that when it comes down, I've got some layers, but I've still got my length. Okay? Right, so that's 2 sections done. So I'll just work again another few sections. Straight down from the middle. And I've not touched the back yet. Not touching the back yet. Okay, so straight down. Right, so remember everything's in lines. There's nothing any different, you're just following a line. And when you're following a line, you're looking for your guideline. So straight up to your guideline. There's my guideline there, so I'm taking off my top. Okay. If you've noticed the top shorter, and as I'm going up, this is longer. Can you see that? And down at the bottom, exact same again. Straight up. There shouldn't be as much coming off the bottom as it are coming off the sides and the top. So straight up, and then straight up again. See, nothing off there and that drops. Okay, so my 2 sides are the exact same as when I started. The only difference is I've now got movement through here, I've got layers through here. So back again, continuing to work right through my sections until I get to the front. Once I get to the very front, I'll show you do something just a slightly bit different. Okay. Okay, carry on. Exact same again. So straight up, see how much I'm taking off the top, taking quite a lot off the top here. But as I'm going round the sides, have a look. Taking a bit off the middle, bottom part, watch what happens. Drops. Okay, exact same at this side. Same again, straight up. Straight up. See it's starting to drop now. See it? As soon as I lift this up, watch what happens. Drops. Do you see that? Okay. Now when I get to the front here, I'm going to push it down a wee bit. When I get to the front here, I'm going to pull it back. Okay, and the reason I'm pulling it back is because I want a wee bit more length through the front. But I'm still going to my same guideline, but I want a bit more length through the front, okay? So I'm pulling it back, but I'm still using my same angle, so I'm pulling it back and up. So when I'm at the sides, I'm still pulling it back, but I'm lifting it up to still keep my length. Now remember, this front's to get shaped through the front here. Straight up and round. I know it's quite difficult to see on this, but I'm trying my best to show you as best I can. Right, so that's that full front area layered. Now remember, this is only layers, this is not a haircut. The haircut is your perimeter shape, it's the shape you give it after the layers. The layers are only to take away some of the bulk and create a bit of movement. The shape round about your face and the shape at the bottom determines your haircut. Better. Now, when you go to the back, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a section. Remember what I was telling you when you first start, it's your guideline. So I'm going to take my guideline again from the front, and I'm going to put the rest of my sections away. So I'm having my original guideline. There's obviously somebody outside really annoying my dogs. They're really annoying me. Okay, so I've now got my guideline. So my front's away. So here's my guideline here. So if you can see it, if I pull it up, do you see that short part there? That's my guide from my top. So everything in the rest of my haircut must meet this guide. So what I'm doing is I'm going to start at the middle section. I'm slightly angling my fingers. So I'm angling my fingers. If you look, they're just slightly pointing up to the ceiling. But as I go down, they're pointing up further, so watch. So straight down in your sections. And straight up. But that's not needing too much through the bottom. Don't cut for the sake of cutting. If it falls, if you've got your finger positioned correctly and the hair falls, it means that there's no hair to come off. So don't look to cut it. So what I'm hoping to do here is create like texture through here, but keep the weight at the bottom. That's why I'm doing a long gradation. Okay, so I'm taking my next section, exact same again, straight up to my guide. Okay, straight up to my guide. Okay, and then I'm taking my next section straight down, but I'm working in straight lines. So now I'm at the opposite end of the head because I'm pulling this towards me. Right, so I'm working away. virtually nothing coming off of this. There we go, see how it's dropping? That means there is no hair to come off. So straight up again, pull it back, pull everything into the middle. Everything into the middle. Okay, so I'm standing now at the opposite side, but I'm pulling everything to my middle. Right up until I get to that other side. Okay, virtually nothing coming off here, doesn't need to come off. Okay, that's one side done. So, go to the other side now. So, I'm going to the opposite side, but I'm still bringing everything into this middle guide. See my guide? See it? This is what comes off above my guide. Never ever cut below a guideline unless you're doing a razor cut. It's the only way you would ever cut below a guideline. Never cut, always cut above a guideline. Just making sure this is right in the centre, that's it. So straight down, up, and I'm just pulling this bit back as well. But I'm going to show you a way to double check it once I've dried it all. Okay. Right, so that's it, layered right through. Now a simple way to check it before we dry it is, if you go between the front and the back, so if you go an inch in front of the ear and an inch behind the ear, right, so see if you lift it up here, this will tell you if you've joined it in. If you haven't joined it in, you'll see a triangle. The triangle, cut it off. Right, there's wee tiny bits, not too much, but you usually find there's one side that's usually worse than the other, so I'll check that side was actually okay. This side could be bad, got to be checked. So again, an inch in front of the ear and an inch behind it. It's the easiest way to describe it to you when I can't show you actually in front of you. I think we're going to get a triangle here. Let me have a look. A wee bit. You can't really see it. There's normally a triangle. I'll see. I might get it for you. Not too bad. But don't worry if you see that, because that's normal, and then you cut it off. There are triangles, if there's a triangle at these parts, they're not meant to be there, cut them off. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to cut a bang. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to stop this video because it goes on too long, and then I'll just instantly start it back.